Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're well. It's Alessio, and speaking to you today from Latvia, which is a beautiful country, by the way. It's an amazing view just behind me. I'm here to attend a friend's wedding for a few days. Anyway, guys, let's talk about Bitcoin. As far as Bitcoin is concerned, we've actually hit some key important levels. I mentioned last week we hit the 61.8 Fibonacci retracement level, and that level is actually a very significantly important level, which, by the way, as we can see, Bitcoin has managed to pull back from that key level of resistance by the 13,500 level. As we saw last week, Bitcoin hit the 13,500 level, the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, which is also called the golden ratio. And often Bitcoin, whenever it rallies into that level, we've usually seen retracements, pullbacks from that level. And this, to me, looks like the start of what could be a retracement, a correction in Bitcoin. I will talk about this in a few moments. By the way, we actually closed the long positions we had on Bitcoin just a few days ago. All right, so the question we're asking is, could this be the start, finally, of the correction, the retracement on Bitcoin down to the key moving averages, for example, the weekly moving averages, the 21 weekly average as an example? I think, yes, it could be. And I think there's a high probability that we have now started the retracement, the correction down to the weekly 21 moving average, or indeed the 100 daily moving average, which is also a key support level. Now, there are some important reasons as to why I think we have started the correction, the retracement down to the key moving averages. The first reason, as I just mentioned earlier, is because we've hit the golden ratio, the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, again, a key level of resistance where Bitcoin usually pulls back from. The second reason is that the monthly RSI has been overbought now for some time. And usually when RSI gets overbought, usually we see those kind of pullbacks, retracement. The third reason is we've broken some key structural levels just very close to us right now, near the 11,000 levels. The fourth reason, which is also quite important, is that the monthly pulse momentum, which is, has been just increasing higher and higher for some time. I think now we've reached the level where the momentum on the pulse could be starting to dissipate. Because the average pulse momentum lasts about 10 bars, usually we see after the momentum comes to a certain level, we see the sort of dissipation, the diminishing of the momentum. And when the weekly momentum starts to diminish, then we could start to see some kind of pullback, some kind of retracement. So if this really is the start of the correction or retracement in Bitcoin down to the 21 weekly average, and by the way, in case you're wondering why the 21 weekly average, because as we saw in the previous video, this is a level that Bitcoin comes to test over and over again. Usually in a bull market or uptrend, Bitcoin, indeed any market, usually comes back down to test the 21 weekly average and then holds that support level and then starts to bounce off and move higher again, continuing the uptrend. So if this is an uptrend or indeed a bull market in Bitcoin, then we want to see that kind of retracement down to the 21 weekly average. And by the way, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, then you really do want this correction, this retracement on Bitcoin down to the moving averages. Because if Bitcoin does not start correcting, if it does not start retracing soon, and instead quickly goes back up again, back above the 13,500, above the 14,000 levels, which I think is quite unlikely at the present moment, but if it does that, if it just continues to push higher very quickly soon, then that is actually bad news for Bitcoin, because if it keeps going higher without a correction, then that actually becomes a problem, because the move becomes highly unstable. As I mentioned in the previous video, if Bitcoin does not start correcting or start retracing, the parabolic movement and indeed the massive increase in acceleration in Bitcoin could make that move quite unstable, and the result usually is quite devastating. The actual eventual drop becomes far more serious. Now, if this really is the start of a correction or retracement in Bitcoin, which I think is quite probable, then I think what we should probably see is some kind of a three-step correction, some kind of a zigzag or ABC type movement down to the key moving averages. Again, the 21 weekly average or indeed the 100 daily moving average. So what we need to see is an orderly, healthy pullback, or indeed an ABC type, or indeed some kind of a three-step correction down to the 21 weekly average, and we need to see that level hold. So we need to see the 21 weekly average hold Bitcoin, and Bitcoin must not close below that level. Normally in a correction, price pulls back to the 21 weekly average or the 100 daily moving average, usually holds those levels, begins to bounce, and then indeed starts to move higher again. So if this is a correction on Bitcoin, then that's what we should probably expect to see on Bitcoin as well. At the very least, we need to see the key moving averages on the weekly time frames and the daily time frames hold Bitcoin, and we need to see Bitcoin actually bouncing off those levels. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. What if this drop we've seen in Bitcoin is the start of a potential C wave retracement, something much more serious than just a simple correction? In other words, what if this drop leads to something much more significant, much more serious, that eventually takes out the lows of December? In other words, a C wave. And that would mean, of course, that the rally we've seen so far has been a B wave or bear market rally, as I mentioned in the previous video. Now, if this is a C wave move or a C wave retracement in Bitcoin, which could potentially take out the lows of December, at the moment we don't have enough information to make that judgment call. It's a little bit too early to make that call. We need to see more information from Bitcoin. For example, we need to see how Bitcoin actually drops. Indeed, we need to see if Bitcoin drops in a corrective fashion or an impulsive fashion. If Bitcoin drops in a corrective fashion, sort of a zigzag, ABC, or three-step move down to the moving averages, and if Bitcoin holds the 21 weekly average and starts to move higher again from there, then it's probably not a C wave move or a C wave drop. However, if Bitcoin drops in an impulsive fashion, in a much more serious drop, and indeed with more momentum, with more force, then this could be a sign this is probably not a correction, but a much more impulsive move or a C wave move that could lead to a much more serious drop in Bitcoin. Put it this way, let's just keep it simple. If Bitcoin falls below the 21 weekly average and closes below it, if we see Bitcoin breaking key support levels and closing below those key support levels, for example, the 21 weekly average at the moment is about the 7,000 to 7,500 level there. So if Bitcoin closes below support levels, and indeed if it breaks the 6,800 level, then this could be something much more serious than just a correction. It could potentially be a C wave move down towards the previous lows. But for the moment, I think it's a little bit too early to make that judgment call. We need to get more information from Bitcoin to see how it moves down. Does it hold the key moving averages? Does it hold the support levels? And if it does that, that would be good news for Bitcoin, because it means it could potentially start the next leg higher. But again, if it doesn't hold the support levels, if it breaks those support levels, especially the 21 weekly average, then it could mean it's something much more serious. We'll probably find out very soon, and it's looking quite interesting at the moment in any case. By the way, guys, I wonder if you can help me out. I'm actually speaking at a wedding here. I'm the best man, and to be honest, I haven't prepared the best man speech. So if you guys can help me out with some jokes, some humorous lines, nothing rude, by the way, just please keep it clean. But if you could maybe help me out with some great lines a best man could say in a wedding, that would be great. If you could post those jokes or comments in the comment section below this video. And guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for future videos. Thanks very much indeed. Bye for now.